Okay, so my last video was in March, it's now July. Who really cares? Exams get in the way. But today I've decided I'm going to bring you a shiny Pokemon run in a ROM hack of Pokemon Emerald called Blazing Emerald. To be honest with you, this ROM hack might just be my favourite version of Pokemon Emerald that I've ever played, and God knows I've played a few. It's infinitely more aesthetically pleasing to look at, it's a challenge but it remains balanced, and above all else, it's got increased shiny odds. When I say that StruedelMuffin has completely outdone himself with this game, I honestly mean every single word of it. It is phenomenal and I highly recommend you give it a go yourselves. The little twist on this one, because of course I have to put a little twist on something to try and stand out in this flooded YouTube community, is that I'm going to be doing this with permadeath. That's right, one of my shinies faints and that's it. They're gone, dead, good night. Anyway, before I can do any of that, I do have to give myself a name. Choosing to give myself the name of Breph, which I'm sure absolutely no one saw coming. I'm sure everyone knows how Pokemon Emerald starts. We jump out of a van, we go and visit a young woman in her home, and then we make our way up to try and rescue the professor. And as children scream outside my window, the hardest part of this challenge begins. We have to keep resetting until we get a shiny starter. Now, I chose out of the three options of Clefairy, Eevee and Pikachu to go with Clefairy, mainly because when I did my research it said it's the fastest Pokemon to level up, at least out of the three starter options, and it also recommended it for being a little bit more tanky towards the end. And I don't know about you, but in a permadeath challenge, I think a little bit of tank is what we need. And so I began resetting. I started in the morning, I then worked my way into the evening, into the night in fact, and then had to come back the next day in the morning as well. For a game that has 1 to 1000 shiny odds, which is like 1/8 of the problem that you'd have in base Emerald, I was not getting any sort of luck whatsoever. And I'd spent so many hours clogging up my CPU and my storage with recordings of absolutely nothing that I got into the rhythm of Control R, Control R. And yes, this is going exactly where you think it is, because as I appropriately titled the clip pain.exe, I came across a shiny, and because I was expecting green Clefairy ears and not a complete recoloration, I pressed Control R on instinct, and I had to do the whole process again. Which is bad enough, but to rub salt in the wounds, the game completely and utterly trolled me. At this point I was in stitches, because I reset and reset and reset some more, only to be faced with a shiny Zigzagoon that I not only can't catch, but I also have to Control R again, and I still hadn't got my Clefairy. But luckily, not too long after that, we did manage to get ourselves a shiny Clefairy, and it has Cute Charm as its ability rather than Trace, which is what I was really holding out for. All in all, worth the wait, and we get into the lab and I bestow upon it the nickname of Matt. Now, there's a story here. There were times where I hit rock bottom, times where I didn't think my mental state was going to cope and that I was going to have to resort to the lowest of the low options, but it was going to have to come, and that meant I was going to have to cheat. But I realised to myself, I sat there and I said, Breph, you are not Matt Hancock. You do not cheat. But someone in UK politics has been a naughty boy, isn't that right, Matty?
It wasn't me. The Sun newspaper called me red-handed, creeping with the toy next door. Wasn't me. Said you wanted some of that Matt Hancock banging on my down the street door. How could I forget I wasn't wearing any PP? Though she hasn't had a vaccination, she got a little break from me.
I don't know what came over me there, but hey ho, yeah, this is Matt the Clefairy, and I think we can all agree, what a recoloration, it looks beautiful. Now, a normal person would say to themselves, okay, permadeath begins once we've caught our second shiny, so that we've got one to fall back on. I am not a normal or sensible person. I am, in fact, a bit of a pleb. I don't know if that's been conveyed enough by now, but I decided that even with one Pokemon, that's it. Permadeath rules are active. So I over-leveled the crap out of my Clefairy. I'm just going to say it, I did. But hey, the first fight is against May, and I don't think it's any surprise that it really wasn't that much of an issue given our level. But I was also searching for some shinies just to have a look at the sprite, seeing as we've got such an increased chance of coming across them that at some point I can make even better. totally not foreshadowing. And to be honest, I was really looking for new shinies right off the bat. I was defeating everything that I came across, and ultimately I had to come to a decision as to whether or not I progressed the game with only one Pokemon, or whether or not to just hunt a little bit more and see what we can come up with. And I chose the former, choosing to make my way through to Roxanne's gym. Fortunately for my Clefairy, Matt can learn Draining Kiss. The irony there is not lost on me, but it does make defeating Roxanne an awful lot easier, because it's a special type move, and yes, this game does have the physical special split. I was confident going into it, and rightly so, because defeating Roxanne was kinda straightforward. It's pretty much just spam Draining Kiss. And that is badge number 1 in the bag, meaning that we can head into the tunnel and rescue Pico from Team Aqua, and I can make my way over to Dewford. Now, to the south of Dewford, there is a new beach, and of course I had to just test out the grass and see what came about, see what I could encounter, and along the way I stumbled into a completely random shiny Azurill. So everyone, I'd like you to meet team member number 2, Keith. Yeah, I'm going with bland names for this one, because shinies are supposed to be rare and they're supposed to be all up there and, you know, fancy. So why not give him the most mundane of names I could think of? Azurill isn't great, mind you, but it will evolve, which is something good. Now, I'll give you a little insight into my daily life. I was communicating with a good friend of mine by the name of Plonkerboy900, who's also done a video very similar to this, so give it a watch if you haven't already, and drop him a sub so that you can out-sub Tion. But we were talking, and I explained to him about how much I hate Jumpluff. In fact, that conversation took a rather Breph-like turn towards the end, but no, I really do hate Jumpluff. So when I went back towards Petalburg and was grinding up levels on my Azurill as to not see it die, you can imagine my frustration when out of the grass popped a shiny Hoppip. And you know what I did? I said no. I'm not having it. I'm not having a Jumpluff. I don't care if it's the second shiny I found. I killed it. I killed it. I killed it. It's dead. Like my channel. Dead. And I leveled up some more and I moved on to try and take on the second gym. Now, there are a lot of changes made to this game. Some new areas. A lot of fantastic story elements that I'm not going to gloss over, because I do want you to check this game out yourself. It is utterly fantastic. But we move on to tackle the second gym leader, and he goes by the name of Blake, using dark type Pokemon. Now, I've caught 2 shinies. Both of them are fairy type. Both of them have fairy type moves. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that the second gym, for me at least, wasn't that bad. That's another upside to choosing Clefairy. You get some pretty good early game coverage. Anyway, the main story just follows that of the Hoenn region. So we dip into the cave and we deliver the letter to Stephen, and then we make our way over to Slateport, into the museum, where we encounter Captain Stern. Now, with permadeath on, I was scared. Matt only just survived this fight, and for some reason it took me way too long to figure out that the seal line must be part dark type, and I was just spamming a dark type move on it, thinking it might have been Ghost. I don't understand my thought process. Hashtag Breff's a pleb in the comments down below. It's this point in the game where we first meet Archie, who barrels in and calls his men simps. Simp emote now available. Shameless plug. And then I move on with the game, and because I don't know when my next shiny's going to be, and I haven't done that much research as to this part of the game, I don't know what level everyone else is going to be. I know it's changed, I know there's an increased difficulty, so I decide that everyone's going to get up to level 5 before fighting the May fight. And on the way, we of course evolve Keith into a Marill, and then once more into an Azumarill, and that golden boy is looking phenomenal. And it turned out he was such a beast that when we went into the May fight, he pretty much swept the whole thing. Now, for the Watson fight, you will see a huge increase in my levels before we get there. That wasn't because I was being cautious like I had been up to now. It was because I was superstitious, and in desperately searching for a new team member, running away from everything, it just wasn't cutting it for me. So I started killing them instead. Didn't work, still didn't get another team member, but we did end up going into the Watson fight, and I was feeling quite good about it. Yeah, we had a water type on the team, but we were high level, and ultimately, it wasn't actually that tough. Again, we've beaten everything first try here, no deaths whatsoever. But we've only got 2 team members, and the worst bit about shiny hunting is it just comes when it comes. A bit like me, ladies. And Plonk sums it up right. If only shiny hunting was done in 3 minutes as well. Unfortunately, that's not quite how shiny hunting works, but you know, I carried on with the game and I was desperately searching for another one, which just wasn't arriving for some reason. And so I went up into Meteor Falls, I did the cutscene, and in there I found a Moonstone and used it to evolve Matt into what is quite frankly the best shiny recoloration I've seen in so long. The white Clefable is just peachy. And at this point I took some time to think about the last shiny I encountered and my blood froze. I knew what I had to do, I just didn't know whether I had the strength to do it. I realised in that moment that I had upset the shiny gods. They were not on my side, they were anti-me. They were against me for the way that I'd treated the Hoppip and the things that I'd said about the Jumpluff Lion and... oh no, I knew what I had to do, I had to go back and... lo and behold, in that patch of grass, just so many levels later, I find a Hoppip, a shiny Hoppip, and I catch it. I name her Janet, and Janet is to be protected at all costs. So the first thing I do immediately is go and get her levels up, evolving her into a Skiploom and then into a Jumpluff. Hopefully now, with my karma reset and the universe and the shiny gods in turn back in line with me, I head off to challenge Maxie, and somewhere along the way I'd clearly forgotten about what protect all costs means, because Janet lasted a long time. Yeah, that went well. So yeah, the first casualty of this run is a Jumpluff, and now you all wonder why I didn't want to use one. Never mind, the next gym in our way is Flannery, and we're back to 2 team members, but one of them is a water type, so I wasn't actually concerned, and it turned out that that was the right thing, because she really didn't pose a trouble at all. Keith, the beast that is Keith, swept her entire team aside and won us the 4th gym badge. Along the way, I decide to pick up a fossil, and it really won't take a genius to figure out which one I collected, but feel free to ask in the comments anyway, because comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. And now someone please shoot me in the head, because I never want to say those words again. Anyway, seeing as I needed to beat the 5th gym before things really got easier, spoilers for the upcoming portion of this video, I decided that before I cash in on my fossil, I should probably go and beat Norman first. Now this was very nearly another casualty. I was so close to Matt and, to be honest, Keith being done with this fight. I made a judgment call. I decided I was going to hang on. And I hung on. And we won the 5th badge. But my goodness, was it safe to say that my arse cheeks were clenched ridiculously tight. Tighter than if I went to prison. But with badge 5 comes the ability to surf. And with a water type shiny, the ability to surf is unlocked. And with that, I can make my way to one of a number of hidden areas. It's called the Ancient Alcove, and it came with a whole slew of fun for you. I say you because it wasn't fun for me. You're about to witness an autistic man who can't read the pictures on puzzle pieces have to solve a puzzle. So, yeah, enjoy this, because I certainly didn't. There were a number of those puzzles, and they took incrementally more time to do, but the reward for it was worth it, as we collect the shiny gem, which, as the description says, makes shiny Pokemon twice as likely to appear. We are now running at 500 to 1 odds. So much more manageable. And I was counting on that when I went to reset for my fossil Pokemon, and it didn't take me too long. We name the Anorith Dave, we check it in the Pokemon menu, and we find out that it is indeed orange and shiny. Fantastic. Only took 20 minutes, you know, and Armaldo is going to be a godsend in this run. I then head up and explore another secret area, finding myself an item called a Luster Ball. Now, I believe it's the only one in the game, so I won't tell you where you find it, but what it does is it means that any Pokemon that you catch is a shiny Pokemon once you've caught it in the Luster Ball. And the first thing I do is head further up that path and decide the best thing to use it on. The legendary dog, Entei. Now, it's a legendary. This ball isn't the same as a Master Ball. It can fail, and there's only one of them in the game. So it's important to save before you do the fight. And I was initially just gonna chuck a ball a few times and see what the catch rate was. And then I could worry about knocking down its health. But we get into the fight with Entei, and the first thing I do is at full health throw myself the Luster Ball, and I catch it in the first ball. And yeah, I was very, very perturbed by this because that wasn't supposed to happen. Nevertheless, we name it Alan, and look at the black and red on this Entei. It is, I'm nursing a semi just looking at it. Such a phenomenal shiny. But hey, in the space of one gym badge, we've doubled our shiny Pokemon in the party, and I'm feeling good. And I used that feeling thinking I was going to go and use 500 to 1 odds to try and catch other static legendaries, starting with Raikou. Now, I haven't got any sort of confirmation about this. I don't know for sure whether or not they're shiny locked, but all I know is that I spent way too long. I'm talking 3 hours just resetting on Raikou because I was stubborn enough to decide that I wanted it. And after that time, when I realised that I probably wasn't going to go anywhere, I decided I'd move on to Mew, and I spent half an hour resetting on Mew to find the same result. So I don't know whether they're shiny locked or not, but I didn't get one. But I did start praying to the shiny gods. I decided that they needed to hear an offering, a prayer, a pleading to show me that shinies could still generate in my game, and I knew that there was only one place I could go to do that. I went back to the grass where I'd found 2 Hoppips, and I ground on them. I ground and I ground, and before long I found a shiny Tailo. I caught him, I named him Barry, and I swiftly evolved him into a Swellow. With Barry in my party, I knew that shinies could still spawn, and I knew somewhere in the depths of my heart that my prayers had been heard by the shiny gods, and actually, from here on, things got a lot more interesting for us. I went back up to try and hunt some very specific Pokemon, and I hunt so long up there that day turned to night and the day-night cycle tripped. But I found them. I found myself a shiny Zangoose, and I found myself a shiny Seviper. Now, I will spoil this. In the cave where you find the shiny gem, there are 2 items. Those 2 items are used to evolve Seviper into Silviper, and that is a beautiful sprite design. And to evolve Zangoose into Zangoro, another phenomenal shiny palette. Honestly, just the state of these 2 designs, they look like they belong in the games. They look like they belong in base games. They're fantastic. Zangoro becomes part Dark type and Silviper becomes part Steel type. So the combinations are actually bang on. What more could you ask for out of them? Anyhow, the game must proceed, and so we head up towards the Weather Institute, where I decide I'm going to do a touch of grinding. And then in the grass it happens. The fateful encounter that made me know the shiny gods were still around, and they were looking out for me. Because I find myself face to face with a shiny Sentret. And you know exactly what happens from there. We catch it, we name it Adam, we get it out, and we evolve it into a Furret. Cue the meme. Spoilers for the rest of the game, Alan is going to see absolutely no action. I'm not using a Furret. I'm not doing it. Do you want to know what else I'm not using? A bloody cast form. We get it, we name it No, we go to the box, we release it. It's not shiny anyway, and it's no great loss to society. You might think me stupid though for leading off against the May fight with a fire type, given that we're facing a water type, and that was a little bit stupid of me, but it's a legendary, so I can afford to be a touch cavalier with it. Anyway, May doesn't really pose much of a threat. We knock her aside and we make our way to Fortree, where I decide to fight Winona. And ladies and gentlemen, cue the sad violins, because my cavalier attitude resulted in a misclick, and that one misclick cost us the life of our shiny Entei. Yeah, it turns out Dodrio is part ground type and then gets Stab Earthquake, and I should have switched out. I meant to switch out, but I was just too focused on pressing the E key on my keyboard, and it cost us the life of a shiny. But other than that, we do claim the badge, but it is a somber mood in the Breph household as we say goodbye to our dear friend. All hope for the run is not lost, however, as we get Barry out the PC and we go into the Magma Hideout as the next major part of the story. Still no shinies, unfortunately. I feel like the gods are a little bit annoyed at us for losing a legendary, but it doesn't really matter. I nearly lose Steve because I'm an idiot who forgot that he's part Steel type now, bought him out for a Camerupt, which is pointless anyway given it's part ground. But you know what, I managed to rectify the mistake and we save all of our team members, heading off to Slateport at the end of it, and yes, it's coming, it's coming. Archie steals the submarine, we stand in front of Captain Stern, and we whisper in his ear, "I'm the captain now." Captain Emote is also available. Shameless plug. Moving up to the Lily Cove hideout, I managed to encounter for myself a shiny Hoennian Tentacool, which is part electric type and looks pretty damn cool, especially with the purple shiny. We name him Bob, level him up, and evolve him into a Tentacruel, going in to fight the admin and everyone. It is just a brutal fight for us. Bob leads and immediately goes down to the Dell Mines' seed bomb, which I didn't know it had. So he lasted long, and also along the way we lost Steve as well. No, Steve! Oh, I was really enjoying him, but alas, he is no more. Unfortunately, we lost 2 shinies in this one fight, and it's not even one I'd consider to be a major battle. Oh, never mind. Over to Mostit we go, and the Psychic type gym, and I was overly confident having Dave on the team. In this game, it can learn X-Scissors, and given that it's Stab and the ridiculously high attack stat of Armaldo, it shouldn't be anyone's surprise that I lead with it, and Barry, and we don't lose either of them, gaining ourselves the 7th gym badge, but I'm still hung up on losing an Entei, a Tentacruel, and a Sylviper. It doesn't matter, the gym badge is done, and to be honest with you, the double battle with Steven doesn't really need talking about. It was so easy thanks to his team that we didn't even lose 3/4 of Barry's health, so there's really not a lot to talk about. And there's no shiny encounters either, going down to the seafloor cavern where we get to face Archie, who is in fact a complete and utter pushover. At the conclusion of that fight, he awakens Kyogre and all hell breaks loose on the surface, meaning we get to go into the Cave of Origin to chat up Wallace, up to the Sky Pillar to awaken Bruce Banner's long dormant schlong, and we get to watch a cutscene. I'm going to play it in full, it's my favourite cutscene and it's my video, so tough. I'm glad you've enjoyed that cutscene, and you have enjoyed it, remember that. Because now we get to go and face Juan. I was a bit concerned about Juan, actually. I was worried that he might have an ace in the hole. You know, a little cheeky card or two up the sleeve, whatever the expressions are. But it turned out he didn't. We beat him first time, and really I was worried over nothing. And that's it. All gym badges have been collected, and the only thing that stands between us and victory is Victory Road, aptly named, and a fight with Wally, and it was here that I realised that I had 4 team members. We won the fight, there's no real concerns about that, but I only had 4 team members, and looking at them I could see some weaknesses. I wasn't sure this was going to be the team that could do it, so I decided to turn off my camera. I was going to make this a surprise for you all. I went and I ground and I found some shinies, and I specifically targeted the ones I want, and it did take a few hours, even at 500 to 1 odds. But I got them together, I leveled them up, And this is our final team going into the Elite Four. And yes, to begin with, you are seeing yourself right. I caught myself a shiny Wurmple, I named him Ben, and I said this because when Plonk first told me about the Luster Ball in the game, I said shiny Wurmple. 100% gonna shred the Elite Four, and I've decided, well, screw it, why not? Coming into the team for Keith is Frank. I found him as a tiny little sphere while in the Shoal Cave, and I decided I was going to keep him. He's the only one that was accidentally found. I was actually looking for a Sneasel, thinking I might be able to get a Weavile in there as well. Don't even know if that's in the game, but I thought it was worth a go, and I found this one instead. So it turned out that Frank was going to be a beast, and he's in our team. Roy is probably my favourite. You bet your ass I'm going to beat this game using a Grovyle and an Armaldo in the team. Why not? Took me a fair while to find him actually, but I managed it. And he's holding an Everlight. Yes, you heard me right. It's one of the new items added into the game. I'm not going to tell you where to find it, mainly because you have to buy it. Him and Wurmple Roy are also holding one of those. And other than that, you've met everyone else. We've gained their levels up because I've got no clue what levels the Elite Four are. And I figured late 60s was appropriate. Everyone was strong, tanky, everyone apart from that Wurmple. But I've decided this is it. And I step through the door. When I see that the first member is Phoebe, my heart's in my mouth a little bit because I had no idea what levels they were or what changes were made. And yet Phoebe turned out to be the easiest one of the lot. I lead in with Lee, Flygon, who I just remembered I didn't talk about, but he's a shiny Flygon as you can tell, and he has swept aside her entire team. So we move on. At this point I paused because I realised that I wasn't looking at anything that I knew, and I did do a little bit of research on the levels and the teams and the orders that they usually come out in, and to be honest I had my plan. New member of the Elite Four, Serena, is up next and she uses grass types. I was quite scared. Didn't really have a huge number of counters, but I did have some TMs in the bag which are reusable and infinite, and I decided that I was going to use them. It turned out to be a saving grace as things like Theraphorn went down to flamethrowers from Matt, and otherwise it was a case of tactical swapping. 2 members of the Elite Four are down and we still haven't lost a team member in this patch. I'm very, very happy, and I was kind of scared when I went into the fight with Glacier and realised that all may have been about to change. One of the things I did before this fight was I gave Frank Rock Tomb because I thought he might be able to use it, and it turned out to come in clutch. I'm going to be brutally honest with you, if I hadn't have taught Frank Rock Tomb there, I don't think I'd have been able to beat this fight unscathed. I think we would have lost 1, possibly even 2 members, which is why I decided to stick with him when we go into the fight against Drake. Frank is holding an item called a Waystone, with the description being that it always guarantees a first hit on the first move, which is why I went for Blizzard, because I hoped it would hit, which it does, and it wipes out the Dragonite. From there, to be honest with you, Lee is pretty much our saving grace. Matt does a fair bit of work, but when Lee comes out and starts using that Outrage, oh boy, it just decimates the entire team. This Flygon is overpowered as anything. And then we're faced with one final challenge. Champion Wallace and the water types. From what I can tell, this team hasn't changed at all from regular Emerald, apart from the Hoennian Tentacruel. So it's a little bit of cheeky swapping. Matt starts out first and does the business against Wailord. So I send in Lee to deal with the Tentacruel, who is now part electric, so 1 stab Earthquake gets rid of it. Milotic comes out and I do a little bit of pondering and I settle on Roy. I completely forgot about Milotic's Ice Beam, but thanks to that Everlight we are able to hang on with 14 HP and 2 Leaf Blades are enough to deal with Milotic. Next up, Sir Gyarados, so I send in Frank, the beast with the rock type move, and it's no surprises that he manages to hang on semi-comfortably and take it down in the process. Whiscash comes out and I know that it's 4 times weak to grass, and so I send in Roy. 1 Leaf Blade does the business and he is done. No more game time for him, as the next member that comes out is her final one, her Ludicola. I instead first decide to send in Ben, my Wurmple, and I get off that decimating Poison Sting which does next to no damage, prompting me to switch into Dave. Probably didn't switch in for the reasons that you were thinking. I wasn't going for that killing blow. Sure, Ben managed to get some damage off, but that isn't good enough for me. I instead wail away with Cut, getting a lucky critical at the right time and sacrificing my channel mascot Armaldo. Why? To switch into Ben, to tank another Seismic Toss and to decimate the champion using a shiny Wurmple and Poison Sting. And I told you, Plonk. I told you I'd do it. With that, into the Hall of Fame we go. Matt Clefable, our staunch starter right from the off. Dave, channel mascot Armaldo, gone but not forgotten, R.I.P. Lee, the Flygon, I wish I'd had him earlier. The game would have been so much easier with him. Frank, the big boy, the one with the rock tomb, and my, oh my, did he save my bacon. Roy Grovile, proving that my channel mascot can perform well. And finally, Ben, the breaker of hearts, the destroyer of leagues, the stinger of champions. This game has it all. It has a huge post game, so this is where my challenge ends, but I would implore you, go and give this game a go, spend the hours necessary in it, see all it has to see, because this is probably the best ROM hack I've ever played. Anyway, that's it from me. A huge thank you to the channel members, and specifically to Gabrielle, to Metal Hammer, to Spyro, and to Brace on the night tier there. If you're interested in joining the channel, there's a join button down next to that subscribe button, which you should also be hitting alongside the like and share buttons for this video. I've had a lot of fun making it. I've got a massive project coming up next. That might be towards the end of the month. I've got more exams. But you must stay tuned for it, because it's going to be a big one. Anyway, thank you all so much for your time, your support, and for watching this video. Make sure you're staying safe, make sure you're staying healthy, and remember kids, don't be like Matt Hancock. I will see you all in the next one.